All right, today we're diving into a huge controversy that's shaking up Kenya's healthcare reform. And it all really boils down to this: two completely different plans, two wildly different price tags, and one single testimony that just blew the whole thing wide open. So let's break it down. So this quote right here, this is the heart of the whole story. I cannot defer corruption. I mean, just think about that. It was said as a direct challenge to a new healthcare plan, and it basically kicks off this massive political showdown. It really makes you wonder, right? What on earth happened to provoke a statement that strong?
Okay, so to really get what's going on, we have to rewind a bit, back to the original promise. The source material for this explainer makes it pretty clear that at the beginning, everyone was pretty much on the same page. The idea was simple. Take the existing system, the National Hospital Insurance Fund, you'll hear it called NHIF, and just make it better, cheaper, easier to access for every single Kenyan.
And the promises made to the public were really specific. Things like, let's improve the system we already have, let's lower the monthly payments, and super importantly, let's make sure we cover the costs for people who just can't afford it. Looked at on paper, this was a no-brainer, a really popular idea.
All right, so that brings us to the first actual plan that hit the table. We're going to call it Plan A, and this one was all about reforming that existing NHIF structure.
Now, what's really key here is who came up with this plan. It came from the inside, from the NHIF system itself. The board, with its new leadership, basically said, hey, we can fix this. They put together their own proposal to clean up the inefficiencies and just make the whole thing work better for the people it's supposed to be serving.
And here's the price tag they put on it: 800 million Kenyan shillings. That was the total cost to upgrade and streamline the whole system. Now, I want you to burn that number into your brain. 800 million. Because what happens next, well, it's a huge, huge shift. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, a completely different idea pops up. And listen, this wasn't about reforming the system anymore. This was about replacing it, top to bottom. Let's take a look at Plan B.
See the difference right away? According to the testimony we're looking at, this new plan wasn't coming from the folks at NHIF. Nope, it came from a totally separate team of advisors over at State House. And their argument was pretty blunt. They said the current system was so broken, so riddled with fraud, that it couldn't be saved. The only option, they argued, was to tear it all down and start from scratch with a brand new thing called the Social Health Authority, or SHA.
And the cost for this plan? Get ready for it. 104 billion Kenyan shillings. That's billion with a B. Not to fix the old system, but to build a new one. The difference in cost is just, wow, it's staggering.
Okay, let's just lay this out side by side so we can really see it. You've got Plan A, improve what we have for 800 million. And then you've got Plan B, build something totally new for 104 times billion. I mean, we're not just talking about a difference in cost here, are we? This is a complete clash of how to even approach the problem.
And that huge, massive gap in the price tag, that's what takes this from a simple policy debate and turns it into a massive controversy. Because the person giving this testimony, the source we're using, they frame this as something way, way more serious than just a disagreement on strategy.
And here it is, the bombshell accusation at the center of all this. The speaker claims that the 104 billion shilling price tag has nothing to do with building a better system. They say it is, and I'm quoting here, the biggest ripoff in the history of the independent Kenya. I mean, that's not just a critique. That is a direct accusation of a plan to steal public money.
Just look at this chart. It puts that accusation into a picture, and it's a powerful one. You absolutely do not need to be a numbers person to get this. That little sliver on the left, that's the 800 million reform plan. And that skyscraper next to it, that's the 104 billion replacement plan. This image shows you everything you need to know about the financial gap we're talking about.
But wait, there's another layer to this. The speaker doesn't stop there. They go on to claim that even if you did build a brand new system from the ground up, it shouldn't cost any more than 1 billion shillings. So think about that. If that's true, it means that in their view, more than 100 billion shillings in that budget is, well, it's just not accounted for.
Okay, so we've got all this political drama, these mind-boggling numbers, but why should you care? Why does this actually matter to the average person? Let's talk about what's really on the line. At the end of the day, this isn't just some abstract political fight. This directly affects how millions of Kenyans are going to pay for their healthcare. It makes us all ask some really big questions, like how is our money being spent? And when you hear accusations this serious, it can totally wreck the trust people have in the institutions that are supposed to be there to help them. That's the real-world impact right there. And that kind of brings us to our final thought here. This whole story is a really powerful example of what governance and accountability look like in the real world. I mean, when you're presented with two completely different ways to solve the same problem, and one costs astronomically more than the other, it really makes you think, doesn't it? It leaves us with a huge question. What are the questions we, as citizens, should be asking to make sure our leaders are being transparent and are actually working for us?